So I want to start taking some time to address some common mistakes in specifically in Wing Chun, but honestly, we can start addressing common mistakes across all the skills that we teach here. But with Wing Chun in particular, because we have the forms and because there's kind of a formal standard beyond just if it works, it's not wrong. Which is still the overarching principle for us, but there are still some kind of standards that we're looking for, like function, right? We need to have things functional. So one of the things that I see people do on the wooden dummy, and this is not just, in our school, this is something that I see across lineages. There are places where we use the Hyun technique, right? Hyun, circling hand, where we flow from that into another movement. And one of the things that I notice is people rush the Hyun. And yes, absolutely, when you are playing Chi Sao with somebody and you're both Wing Chun people, you tend to just kind of flow with the rhythm and pattern of things because that's just kind of how people who train the same style do things. It's like jiu-jitsu guys who flow and then all of a sudden have trouble coming up against a wrestler. And it's not even because the other guys don't have flow, it's that they have a different sense of flow and they have a different sense of timing. The beats are different, right? And so it's not enough to be able to just say, oh, I can do this with my Wing Chun guys, so it's fine. Like, you need to understand what the function of the technique is in the first place. So there are places in the wooden dummy form where we refer to Hyun Sao as even Kao Sao, hooking hand, specifically section 3, but we do that move where it's kind of like this high Gan Sao or inside Jet Sao kind of idea. You can even look at it as Fuk Sao. There's different interpretations there, while the other hand is doing Hyun. But the overall point there is that you're changing lines, but you're also creating control. And you can't really create that control if you just float and fly and never kind of establish position. So one of the things to think of is like when you're lifting weights or when you're doing your calisthenics, whatever, you have specific start and stop points in the exercises. Now, sometimes that is just the full joint range of motion, right? But other times it's kind of an arbitrary point based on whatever metric. And so we have to be thinking a little bit about what are we trying to achieve with Hyun Sao? We're not circling just to circle, right? We're circling to do something a little bit more important. We're circling to change the line, and specifically to change the line in our favor. We're not doing it arbitrarily. Arbitrary change doesn't matter because it just, like, if you didn't have a reason to do it other than you just felt like changing, maybe you just gave up position as opposed to achieving a new position. Why would you move from one position to another, right? And it's usually to gain an advantage. So when we look in the dummy, there's two places I want to look at, right? So the opening of our section 3, different lineages are going to have different sections. But our section 3, when we open, we have here, 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 and we come in. And a lot of people, they kind of skip this double, I don't care what you call it. It really, really operates more like Fuk than anything, but it's got that inside line like Gan Sao, but it's got like energy like Jet Sao. It's kind of a multi thing, whatever. But a lot of people will float past that, and then their Hyun Sao doesn't do anything, and they wing their elbow, and they just kind of, and they melt through without any kind of reason, right? So I want you to understand that when you're doing this, right, this should be creating some control, some forward pressure, some inward pressure, that kind of forward line, kind of on the angle here, right? So as I'm coming in and riding, right, there should be some sound there coming off of this. You can't base everything off of sound, but you should be able to hear something off of this And then when I come through, I should actually be achieving position. One of the things that a lot of people do is they keep their elbows out here flipping out. This is a nice open window now. That's no good. I'm taking the top line and the inside line. So if I'm taking the top and inside line, I don't need to guard up here as much. And then when I slide through into the bottom line, I return to the top, right? So this now has a purpose, and I'm maintaining some good structure and positioning here. Now, the other place that I want to look at it is, again, section 3, but we do this in our closeouts and whatnot as well. But when we're flowing through here, right, this line, as I move, as I'm shifting, my forearm should be parallel with this line. I should not be floating out here across. I'm missing position there. I'm not actually gaining the line there, right? But when I sit here, now I'm on the inside line. As I open up, I'm coming through, and now I can add that hip power and strike in. That makes all the difference. So when I come here, this is a position, right? And I can use that as a hook, and I can use that as a positional change to circle around. It's kind of a multi-purpose tool, right? And I'm using it, right? In fencing, it would be a kabatsuyomi, right? I'm using it to change position to gain benefit. And I'm doing so while maintaining some accountability over the limb so that I can then thrust in and do my thing, right? It's a very specific move and not something that you should just rush through. It's not just this doesn't matter, right? But as I'm moving, even if I want to do this soft and slow, I should be maintaining position. I should be driving from my hips, right? But as I'm doing this, these motions have a reason. They should be doing something. So I want to make sure that as I'm doing it, I am paying attention and being mindful about it and doing it right. All right, so that's kind of a look at Hyun Sao, and of course we can look at this in Chi Sao, we can look at this elsewhere, but it starts at the dummy. I mean, really it starts in Dan Chi Sao, but you get what I'm saying, right? It starts at the dummy. Learn it on the dummy, figure out your positioning, figure out your line, figure out your angle, figure out your control, and then grab a partner and play some Chi Sao, or do some sparring, even just do some boxing, right? Do some boxing. You can still do this. It works. So it's about lines and control. It's not just arbitrarily flowing and circling. And it's the same thing you see in the sword fighting in the movies where they just arbitrarily circle around. No, in sword fighting, it is purposeful, and it's about gaining the line, gaining the blade, changing, gaining control. That's what it's about. So do it right, and I will talk to you guys next time. Good journey. Hey, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, do all the other social media stuff. You can check out our other socials, as well as take a look at some of the merchandise that we have for offer in the links below. And if you happen to be in the Phoenix metro area, stop in, come in for a class, come in just to say hi. We'd love to meet you. Until next time, good journey.